Today, the view along Alpha Road looks like this. No water now, but the potential for flooding, for even more destructive flooding, is there. The Dallas City Council is trying to deal with that issue by instituting some kind of more detailed floodplain management program. In recent years, several large developments have risen along White Rock Creek. Medical City Hospital at Forest Lane in North Central, the Park Central project at LBJ in North Central, and Ross Perot's EDS Center at Forest Lane and Hillcrest. All have had some effect on the future of White Rock Creek. At the same time, the City of Dallas saw fit to pave this portion of the creek. The basic problem occurs when a developer wants to build within the floodplain. To do so, he must bring in massive amounts of fill dirt to raise his property above the flood level. This takes care of his property, but it can create all kinds of potential problems for landowners up and downstream. Principally, the water level of the creek will be raised, and the stream will carry more dirt and silt downstream, clogging it up with underbrush and debris. This becomes expensive for city workers to remove. The city planning staff has proposed a list of criteria for developers to meet before they may build in the floodplain of a creek. Any proposed development must allow no increase in the water level, no increase in the water velocity, no alteration of the natural channel without an impact study, and no excavation of the floodplain except under specific guidelines. Up until now, if a developer wanted to build in the floodplain, he had few criteria to meet. Basically, he just conferred with the Planning and Public Works departments, and then took his case and his money and his political clout to the city council. The developers are not bothered by creek channels lined with concrete. They believe that the profit motive should prevail. Others want the city council to enact tough guidelines to keep the creeks in their natural state. The only development they would allow would be for athletic fields and parks. Most likely, the city council will find an unhappy compromise between the two groups.
Susan, one thing that concerns us about the city's proposal for shallow excavated areas just away from the creek bank is that all of the city's really lovely wooded areas practically are in the floodplain areas. And the sort of bulldozing that would be required to carry out these projects would be very destructive of these major trees that have taken 50, 100 years to grow.
Ms. Grine, why do you oppose the criteria City Council will be studying this afternoon?
Largely because it's a piecemeal approach. Up here where we are now in Renner in Collin County, the creek is already carrying an enormous volume of floodwater, and all of this floodwater goes down through Dallas. And we feel that there needs to be a plan as to exactly how the water will be handled there. When you have a beautiful asset such as White Rock Creek and its adjacent tree cover, it seems to us that you ought to try to plan in some way to preserve this for the benefit of the people who live in the neighborhood and the people who might be living in that area later.
So what is the most appropriate use of an area like this?
Well, we think open space, whether it's public open space or private open space, is the best way to use most of the floodplain, along with shopping centers or along with new apartment complexes or new residential areas that would really add to the value of those private developments.
What are the consequences if the City Council approves the proposed criteria for floodplains today?
Well, we're concerned particularly about Upper White Rock Creek, where we are now. Since 1967, the city's had a plan for the part of Upper White Rock Creek here north of LBJ, where the land would remain as open space within the floodplain, except for very minor fill on the edges, on the fringe of the floodplain. The natural creek channel that's down here behind us and the broad part of the floodplain would be used to carry the floodwaters very slowly downstream to the rest of Upper White Rock Creek. Under the proposed criteria, it would be possible to cut and to fill a large part of the floodplain, and that concerns us. We think it would have bad consequences both for the way the floodplain would look and for the way that it would carry floodwater.